I'm keen to have a look at the flotilla thing just before we wrap up. And there's there's many reasons about doing this, but one of the reasons I'll give you a heads up on when we get to it after we hear about Sam, I think it is Sam Leason, and who he is, because I have a connection, and I'm hopefully going to be able to use that to get us a bit of a conversation going about this. So let's first of all go to 3 News and hear Sam Hayes cover the story.
The father of a Kiwi teenager believed to have been detained by the Israeli Defence Force says he couldn't be prouder of his son. Sam Leason is one of at least 3 New Zealanders who were part of a large aid flotilla trying to get to the Gaza Strip. Israel is now understood to have taken control of 6 vessels, arresting many of those on board.
So just check that. We just saw a headline that said 13. So we'll go with officially 6. Allegedly 13 at this point.
Including activist Greta Thunberg. Senior correspondent Lisa Raymer reports.
Kia ora, my name is Samuel Leason. I come from Aotearoa, New Zealand. If you're watching this video, I have been kidnapped by the IOF.
Samuel Leason's OE has toured different hotspots to most Kiwis, mapped out by his moral compass.
Stop the genocide.
At home in Otaki, north of Wellington, his dad, Adi, hasn't been able to get hold of Samuel since his boat was intercepted by Israeli military.
It's adorable. See in the background there, Adi's got the family album out, obviously showing the news guys pictures of his boy, which is lovely. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Get hold of Samuel since his boat was intercepted by Israeli military.
Anyone who's been a parent of an 18-year-old will know that they're completely compliant and always do what they're told. He's a young man who's got his own mind and a big heart, and he's trying to close the gap between what he believes and what he does.
Adi has followed with pride ever since his son gave up a Moroccan adventure to join an aid flotilla.
Sorry, I'm just going to go back. Because if you actually have a look, talking about 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. There could be like close to 30. I'm assuming all these boats are it. They look like they are, but there could be, 20 to 30 altogether.
Yeah, I think it was like 40.
Ever since
Yeah.
40?
I think it was like 40, 42, 44. I heard 40, 42 and 44.
Okay.
So yeah, one of those.
All right. Yeah, well, that looks like it, eh? So we'll keep going.
Yeah.
the son gave up a Moroccan adventure to join an aid flotilla headed to Gaza, one of the youngest among the around 500 activists.
We're a small country, he's a small guy, but he's, I think, punching above his weight.
But overnight, as they neared the coast,
this is the Israeli Navy.
They were warned to turn back.
Any further attempts to sail toward Gaza endangers your safety.
The flotilla pushed on.
We'll be free from...
Just be aware. I know not to try and beat it up, but you can see these guys are sitting in the cabin.
Endangers your safety.
The flotilla.
Notice that with their life jackets already on, because there is a possibility that they'd be going in the water sometime soon. So the bravery that these people are showing. This is why. And look, I'll tell you at the end. Actually, I'll jot this down at the end, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking now.
Pushed on.
We'll be free from the river to the sea.
Documenting their progress for their global online audience.
We carry only food.
And reporting that Israeli forces had deliberately rammed one of the boats and was targeting others with water cannons. In Samuel's last update before his boat was boarded,
So you found out it looks like we're going to be illegally intercepted.
he expressed concern for the 2 Palestinian Kiwis, also part of the flotilla.
They are in a lot more danger than I am.
Rana Hamida has since been reported by the flotilla group as abducted.
Our humanitarian mission was non-violent.
And so too has Yusuf Samur.
Call out to the New Zealand government, Aotearoa, to ensure my safe release.
AD says he's been told Samuel will spend a few days in a detention centre before being deported home.
The beach of Gaza is a frightening place to land, to turn up and trying to help as a young 18-year-old. So, yep, deep down, I feel like this scenario, the way it's played out this morning, is almost the best for Samuel's personal safety.
The The Ministry for Foreign Affairs has said in a statement that it's expected any New Zealanders will be treated in a manner consistent with international law, and that's been directly...
I don't want to kind of be dramatic here, but we have just been watching for 2 years Israel step pretty clearly outside of international law when it comes to Palestinians. Now, I'm not trying to be dramatic and say, so something's going to happen, but, you know, when someone from our government sends that message, you must be crossing both fingers and, you know, crossing every toe, because Israel has demonstrated on numerous occasions they don't give a fuck about international law. So, okay, this has only got about 30 seconds. We'll get to the end.
Will be treated in a manner consistent with international law, and that's been directly communicated to Israel several times, while adding Kiwis have been explicitly warned against any attempt to enter Gaza by sea.
Regardless of what they thought was going to happen, Israel's actions are unacceptable. Intercepting a flotilla in international waters is just wrong.
Nelson Mandela's grandson and Greta Thunberg are also part of the flotilla, the Swedish climate activist among those detained. The high-profile arrests prompting spontaneous protests around the world, including a small group outside the Beehive. Samuel's mate from Kapiti College urging the government to do more.
Yeah, no, I felt really scared for my friend more than anything, and just pretty disgusted as to what's going on.
Despite now being down on numbers, the flotilla says it will continue undeterred. Samuel has pledged his efforts won't end here either.
Once we get back to New Zealand, the mahi starts again. But keep fighting for it, keep fighting for Palestine.
All right, so there I've got more to share, a bit of a tangent, but I think you guys will enjoy it, sort of a semi-tangent. So Tommy, the floor is yours. Any response to the story you've just seen?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I found the scariest was when I heard that Israel, the IDF was saying, oh, we've received information that these guys are funded by Hamas, which obviously is more than likely not true, like probably like 99.9% chance not true. They haven't, expressed any further detail on where that information is actually from, but that just kind of made me think like, oh shit, what are they about to do to them? You know what I mean? Because that to me sounded like they're getting ready to they're already getting ready to justify their actions. We've seen them do this with journalists. Anyone that's sort of stepped out of line, you're all of a sudden Hamas, so that's why you got blown up. But yeah, man, it's scary. But something I've noticed is how silent the coalition leaders have been about it, and I kind of think that silence speaks volumes. I mean, it's only been a day, but what are they going to come out with tomorrow? I can see David Seymour coming out with something smug and snarky, to be honest, and I think that's going to set me off, to be honest. Yeah.
So let me give you some background now. They didn't say it in the 3 News story, which I'm surprised by. Adrian Leason is a national treasure. A.D. Leason, for people who don't know, history lesson, is one of the guys who took down the Waihopai spy base. So Adrian Leason, in his blood, has this kind of activism. For you guys who are too young to remember, 3 protesters got into the Waihopai spy base area, and then with a sickle, like as in asterisk and obelix, sickle, split the base and took down the dome because they're inflated. They then got taken to court, and they got found not guilty. In fact, I think I'd probably just go back one and go, walk free. They got found not guilty. So there's 80. They got found not guilty by, I don't know what the name of the defense is, but there's a defense which says I can break the law for a greater good. So for example, I can break into your house, right? Breaking and entering, I can kick down the front door if the house is on fire and I'm going to save you. So technically it's breaking and entering, but it's done for a reason that's a higher purpose, right? It's done for the reason that's to save your life. That was the defense they went with. And the greater purpose, and I think it was Iraq at the time, it's easy for the greater good. There you go. That's what it is. The greater purpose was communications from these, I don't know whether it was official or allegedly, were going to Iraq to, to help Americans target where to bomb, basically. Now, I'm a little bit unclear on that, but that was the greater good. Now, what I realized when I heard Sam's name for the first time is I know AD. I'm not trying to clout chase here, but I worked with AD. This is Adrian Leason standing here in the middle. I made a product called Elephant TV. I've talked about that here on here before. You can see the logo up in the background there, Elephant TV. And it was a product that was made primarily for the church. And it was a product that was made primarily to talk to church members when conversations disagree, when people within the body disagree. And it started off little story for you now, a few minutes. It started off when I was working on ZB, and there was a news item that said there was a American soldier fighting in Iraq, and this American soldier had a come to Jesus moment, a road to Damascus moment, whatever it is, and he realized as a Christian, quote unquote Christian, he couldn't shoot and kill anybody anymore, and so he started the process of getting discharged, and he got an honorable discharge because he refused to shoot and kill because he'd had this awakening. That prompted a night of talkback for me on ZB where I said, can a Christian be in a war and shoot and kill people? And that normally when you do talkback on a nighttime show, you have like 4 or 5 topics and you do one an hour or whatever. That went for 6 hours. That one topic went for 6 hours. And I went, oh, there's something here. And what I found was people were responding and saying, of course, if you're a Christian, you can go to war because it says you got to love your neighbor. And if Australia was being invaded, we'd go and help. And then all the other people were going, of course you can't go to the war because it says you got to love your neighbor. And if you love your neighbor, how can you shoot and kill them? So I was just like, oh, this is really interesting concept. And so I started up this product called Elephant TV. And one of the ones we did was Christians in War. And this guy here on the right, I can't remember what his name is, from Christchurch. He was actually a chaplain in the army. And he was in Iraq at the time that AD took the spy base down. And I can remember asking AD, how do you feel, you've got someone sitting in front of you, that your actions could have stopped communications going to him, which could have caused him to, suffer a negative effect sort of thing. So he talked about being in the army and obviously being a Christian. These are all Christians, right? This guy here was about the just war theory. This guy here is a Mennonite, which is basically another version of being Amish. And then there was Adrian, I think was Catholic. And his group was called the Plowshares. And the Plowshares are basically, and I'm going to play you a bit here. It's a couple of minutes long. The Plowshares are basically this thing within the Bible where you beat your swords. You get a sword to fight with, and you basically reuse it to turn it into a plow. So in other words, you take your weapon of war and you turn it into a weapon of farming. And that's what the name of his group was the Plowshares. Now, I've texted AD a couple of times in the last few years and I've never got anything through. And finally, I realized I probably have got the number wrong. So I called it and it no longer exists. So I sent him an email and I was thinking, I'm going to try if I can get through to AD to get him on and we'll have a bit of a chat, maybe even a one-off special, full interview with AD about this. But the thing I'll play you now is AD talking about why he took down the Waihopai spy base and how we did it. Now, remember, this is a product made for the church, so there's lots of churchy terms coming up. But at that point, I mean, everyone changes, but at that point, at that moment, this was why Adrian Leason, the father of Samuel Leason, who is now in Israel, being detained, had that activist action. Have a listen.
I wanted to take my beliefs, my understanding of Scripture, and my understanding of the New Testament and the church story, and I wanted to say, what can I do? And I formed a little conspiracy of love where a group of people started to get together to pray and read and reflect on what we could do to prevent one more little girl dying.
So the little girl dying was someone in Iraq. because he had told that story, just so we're clear.
And having and suffering this terrible pain. And so we came up with the idea of trying to enact Isaiah's vision of a future world. One day our swords will be beaten, hammered into agricultural equipment. That's a dream of Isaiah and the other prophets. And so that was what we decided to do, and we started on this journey. We went into, after a long story of building up to this, we finally got to the spy base. Things didn't go very well. There was a lot of problems. I remember we got to the electric fence. The spy base is surrounded by a 40,000 volt electric fence. And we'd opened it up and we exposed the 40,000 volt electric wires. And then my little voice came through again, and the same with one of my friends. And the little voice said, "Give the bolt cutters to Father Peter." So that's what we did. And it's good if you're doing something like this to involve a Catholic priest is always good. So he had a lovely prayer, and then we cut through, and then we went in there and we disarmed this spy base in the name of Jesus to stop the machinery of war taking place.
There you go, and that's where it cuts off. So that's a little bit about 80 and the history behind his activism. And when I went, I was going to tell you something. This is where I learned for the first time that people think about pacifism as passive, sit back and not doing anything. But I learned there, and I think you can see it in the flotilla, and I think you can see it in the actions of 80, is that pacifism is actually quite active. Pacifism is not sitting back doing nothing. Pacifism has it means you can go out and action things still. I watched again Hacksaw Ridge over the last couple of weeks. If you haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, oh man, it makes me cry every time about this guy who was a pacifist, the first pacifist ever to be awarded the whatever it is, Congressional Medal of Honor, because he went to war. He refused to carry a rifle, but he acted as a medic, and he ended up saving 70 people in a mass shootout, 70, and he never picked up a weapon. So pacifism doesn't need to be passive. Pacifism can be active, and that's what you see with what 80 did, and I think that's what you're seeing with. I don't know if Sam would call himself pacifist. I don't know him, but I'm just saying it doesn't need to be passive. And just to tell you guys, I don't know if I'll connect with him. I don't know if the email's still right. I'm going to try and get 80 on for a good hour-long chat, and if we can do it, we might do it as a special or something like that. But yeah, so there's a little bit of background for you guys that no other media source will have at the moment, based around this flotilla, and certainly the history of Sam Leason, and probably, if we are a product of our environment and stuff, one of the reasons he is like he is. Not taking anything away from him, but saying that's where his father was. There you go. This is my official sermon is now at an end, Tommy.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Thanks for that, Pat.
That's right.
Yeah, pacifism. It's not something I really thought about, because I kind of think sometimes I start to feel like we're a bit past that. Like, how are we supposed to stand up to these psychopaths that are running our world?
Yeah.
Without force, but here we are with some like real down to earth activists, and it's very clear that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Like, I would say that is something that's been inherited through blood. Like, it may not even be something that's been taught. It's something that is like soul to soul, I guess. Yeah. That's how I feel about it anyway.
Just so we're clear, I'm not evoking any kind of religious beliefs on Sam or on 80. I don't know. A lot of people used to go to church. They no longer do, So just so we're clear, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what it was then. But I tell you what, people here who have heard me talk, Tommy, know that I kind of dig on those teachings of Jesus, this itinerant brown Palestinian, who went around telling us to look after the widows and orphans. I get down on that. I see socialism and the socialist democracy all over that, and quite often I would look to examples of what 80 was talking about and go, that's the kind of example I would happily get behind, as opposed to the this guy at the moment who's trying to talk about getting a New Zealand version of the Turning Point USA put over here. I don't want to follow that kind of version, but but you know, the 80 Leason sort of example, I'm down. You know, if there's a club for that, I'm down. I'm okay with that.
100%,
and I think,
man. Yeah.
and our Baba makes one beautiful comment about this. The most New Zealander thing to do is pop a satellite bubble with a farm tool. Again, perfect.